This Realtor training is called 7 Easy Steps. Hi, I'm Ted Lee with Neighborhood Realty Solutions. Thanks for opting in to this second video series of training videos for realtors. Now that you're ready to make more money from short sales easier and quicker than you thought possible, I'm going to walk you through 7 easy steps that you will complete every time you initiate a short sale with us. If somehow you arrived here without watching the first video training, you can watch that video by going to www.neighborhoodrealtysolutions.com/short sales. And remember, if you have a question, you can go to support@neighborhoodrealtysolutions.com and we will try to clarify anything you might be confused about or unclear about. So let me set the stage. This is the point where you either have a short sale client and you're ready to get started with us, or you know you can get a short sale client soon and you want to be prepared to start the process correctly. So let's talk about step 1. This is where you're getting the listing agreement signed. Your marketing has produced a seller who is in need of a short sale to avoid foreclosure. You converted that listing appointment into a client who is prepared to sign documents and start the short sale process, in part because you have a highly experienced professional team working with you who has a greater than 90% success rate of processing, negotiating, buying, and closing short sale transactions. You determined that the seller is cooperative and willing to do what is necessary to help us to be successful at securing a short sale approval. That's a pretty simple filter. In other words, if the seller is uncooperative, or they just sort of want to hunker down and figure out how long they can stay in the house, and they really don't want to do a short sale, they're just sort of wasting your time, well, maybe the two of us will decide that we really shouldn't work on that one. So it's a very simple one. They just have to be cooperative because we have to collect documents from them. They have to be there if we have to get certain documents signed throughout the process. So they have to be cooperative and willing to work with us. That's real simple. You briefly explained that Ted Lee and his team at Neighborhood Realty Solutions will collect documents that will make up a complete short sale package that will go to their lender. You briefly explained that Ted Lee and the team will negotiate the short sale and that the short sale package will include a cash offer from our affiliated investment company called Corey Taylor LC, and that short sale package will also include a proof of funds letter. I guess you could mention at this point that's very important because that really speeds up the short sale process. It focuses the lender that this is a short sale that needs to be negotiated. So it's critical that we start every one of our short sales with an offer. You'll tell the seller that there's no cost to the seller for the professional services provided by Neighborhood Realty Solutions. So you're going to get some documents signed. You're going to have the seller sign the non-agency independent contractor brokerage agreement. Now remember, I'm going to have a video screenshot of every one of these documents in a separate video. So I'm just going to mention them here. They were mentioned in the first video training series. But just note that you're going to get this signed. This is the document that replaces the standard listing agreement and gets included in the complete short sale package. You're going to sign it, the seller's going to sign it, and your broker is going to sign it. You're also going to get the listing amendment signed. You're going to get the authorization to release signed. That's the document that allows Neighborhood Realty Solutions to collect documents from the homeowner, compile them, put them in a complete short sale package, and ultimately negotiate with the seller's lien holders to secure a short sale approval. And you're also going to get a short sale questionnaire filled out with the homeowner. That questionnaire should only take 5-10 minutes to complete, and the answers to that questionnaire, if you will, kind of trigger how we set up the short sale. So that's all we really need at that point. Now we have some optional, or there's sort of an optional step here. You don't have to do this. This is only if you want to get these signed to speed up the process because you're already there. And you have to kind of tell us you want to do this. If you don't, you're simply going to tell the seller that Neighborhood Realty Solutions will be in contact with the seller and we're going to collect all the documents we need to put together a complete short sale package. So these documents, of course, are the ones we need signed are the purchase and sale agreement. We're going to use the agreement that you and your broker uses. I've already told you in the other training video that the initial purchase price is going to be somewhere between 65% and 80% of the average of the low comps that you provide for us in that questionnaire. We're going to get an affidavit of understanding signed with the seller. That's the document that fully explains to the seller everything about the short sale, everything they need to know legally about the short sale. We're going to get a notice of contract signed, and we are going to actually record that on public record, and that's the notice that perfects to the world, if you will, the equitable interest that Corey Taylor LC has in the property. We're also going to get a non-HOFA form signed, and that allows us to negotiate this as a negotiated short sale, not as a HOFA drawn out short sale. And finally, we're going to get a supplemental short sale addendum signed. Again, this is all optional. You don't have to bring up any of this, or you can just kind of overview it and say that we'll be collecting these from the homeowner in the next day or two. And again, I've already reviewed all this for you in that first video training series. I only mention it here to say it's optional. If you are able to actually collect these documents, it does speed it up. That's great, but you don't have to do it. All right, step 2. This is how we start the MLS listing. This property is listed for the seller owner of record. This is a plain vanilla listing with the status active. There's only one exterior picture. Remember, at this stage of the short sale process, you already have a buyer, and that's Corey Taylor LC. So we're not actually using this particular step to attract a buyer. So this is plain vanilla. The status is active. I want to mention in a minute how it's going to be changed to either pending or contract depending on your particular MLS rules in your state. The public comments are short sale, as is, buyer is responsible for all township or mortgage company repairs, and the final sale price is subject to bank approval. Now, if it's a vacant property, let's say it's a real mess, you're not going to clean the property. You're not going to try to make it look any better than it actually is in its as-is condition. This is just a step where you get this signed. You don't really do anything to the property, and we don't need a lockbox or a sign in the front yard. This is just a document. We need a copy of this sent over to us because this gets included in that complete short sale package that goes to the seller's lender. All right, step 3. This is where the MLS status is going to be changed after 2 days. It's going to be changed to either pending if you have that classification in your MLS rules in your state, or contract, or possibly contract, no kick out with one contingency. And of course, the contingency here is it's contingent upon lien holder approvals. To repeat, we're not looking for a third-party buyer until we complete the interior BPO with the lender, and the lender has either verbally approved the negotiated offer or contract offer by Corey Taylor LC, and that lender has issued a written approval letter. All right, step 4. Now the status is going to be changed back to active. Now this is where we're going to notify you when to do this, and this is after we have a verbal approval from the seller's lien holders, or we have a written approval. So either Corey Taylor has gone back and forth. Possibly we've countered with the seller's lien holders, and we have a verbal, and we know we're going to get a short sale approval very soon, so we're going to communicate that to you. Or in some cases, we're actually going to get a written approval, and we're going to communicate that sometimes that written approval will come to me by email or, fairly quickly. And so at that point, when we have that, we're going to change it to active, because this is the point we are in fact looking for a third-party buyer. And remember what I said in the first training video. This is where Corey Taylor has both the equitable right to list as well as the stated contract right by the seller, owner of record, for Corey Taylor to list and market the property and proceed to enter into a contract with some third party. Now, here, all you're going to do is add multiple pictures in the MLS showing the nice attributes of the house if they exist. Of course, if this is a total rehab property, you're not going to add additional pictures or show any problems with the house. This is just if we have a nice house, we're going to go from that one exterior picture to multiple pictures showing everything that's nice about the property. You're going to improve on the description of the property because we're trying to attract a buyer now. And of course, you're going to add in the public comment section that the short sale is either verbally approved, if that's what we communicate to you, or we have a written short sale approval. All right, now step 5. This is where you're going to forward an offer to Corey Taylor LC. Now, when you were listing it, we worked with you on the new list price to attract a buyer. But just now, keep in mind that due to the fact that we have negotiated an approval price in that A to B transaction, that transaction between the seller, owner of record, and Corey Taylor LC, and that we've gotten a discount to the property's current as-is value, then the price that we advertise to attract our buyer is going to be both attractive and expected to produce offers within hours or possibly within days. So we know how to do this. We're going to work with you on pricing. We will have the sufficient discount below other comparable houses, non-distressed houses that are being advertised for sale. So we know how to attract a buyer very quickly. Now, the approval letter will typically allow us 30 days to close the AB transaction. But if needed, we can get an extension. Typically, a 30-day extension is not very hard. Sometimes I've gotten extensions 3 times to close a short sale if needed. Now, that extension request is typically a result of us finding a third-party buyer who enters into a contract with Corey Taylor LC where that buyer needs a mortgage to buy the property. In other words, it's not a cash buyer. And if they need a mortgage, they might need 30, 45 days to get that done. And let's say that particular contract offer wasn't submitted until maybe 5, 10 days into that 30-day window that Corey Taylor had to close the transaction. So I already know at this stage that we're going to proceed to get an extension to get that worked out. Now let's talk about step 6. This is where we're going to instruct you and provide you with information to communicate to the buyer's agent. So this is where Corey Taylor will accept possibly or counter and then accept an offer from an independent third party. And if we have a restriction or a limitation or some sort of prohibition where Corey Taylor cannot immediately resell the property. In other words, if there's a restriction or hold stipulation in an approval letter, or possibly that Fannie Mae affidavit that says that Corey Taylor is prohibited from reselling because of that higher offer rule that now exists in those Fannie Mae affidavits, then Corey Taylor will agree to release his contract or equitable interest in the property and enable this third party to buy directly from the seller, owner of record, at the total price agreed to between Corey Taylor and the third party in consideration for a termination of contract payment made by the third party to Corey Taylor LC. So all we're really saying at step 6 is when this happens, we're going to communicate to you so you can communicate to the buyer's agent in case there's any questions. And we'll actually have something written up for you. This is very simple. And I'm going to give you an example now of how this works. So Corey Taylor has an approval to purchase the property for $200,000 from the seller's lender. The property is listed in active status and offers are presented to Corey Taylor LC. An offer is agreed to at $210,000, but there exists an affidavit prohibiting a resale. So then Corey Taylor will agree to release his contract interest in consideration for a payment for $10,000. And we've already communicated, if you will, to the buyer's agent, that Corey Taylor has agreed to enable or arrange for this buyer to buy the property at the price that this new buyer wants to buy the property for. That's a total purchase price of $210,000. The only thing different here is now, to allow that to happen, this party is going to pay Corey Taylor LC, and we're going to arrange for this party to buy the property for $200,000, and that amount is going to be shown on a final HUD-1 statement in a single transaction between the seller, owner of record, and this new buyer. And of course, that new buyer's name is going to be stated on the final HUD statement, and that new buyer's name is going to be stated in the final approval letter issued by the seller, owner of record's lender. So in other words, once we know this is going to happen, I will manage the steps where I communicate to the lender that the bad news, if you will, is that Corey Taylor is no longer buying the property, but good news is I have another party that's willing to step in and buy the property for the price that the lender agreed to, in this case, in this example, $200,000. And I proceed within days, possibly. Sometimes it takes a little longer for that lender to issue a new approval letter showing that that buyer is the one that's approved to buy the property from the seller, owner of record. All right, step 7 is a good step for you. This is where you pick up your check. We arranged the closing with Clear Title America. That's our national title company. This is the company that we've been working with throughout the short sale process. They would have pulled title, done title searches. They would have prepared possibly multiple preliminary HUD statements that we've sent into the lender. So they've worked with us throughout the whole process. And as a courtesy, if you will, or as a consideration for all that, we're going to communicate to this new buyer that we're using Clear Title America to close the transaction. We're also going to use them if in those sort of that 10% of the time where there's no restrictions, no prohibitions, and where Corey Taylor is going to buy it and resell it to a third party, and Clear Title's highly experienced at getting those done legally and following all the underwriting rules. Again, using the example of a $200,000 short sale, approved short sale, the final HUD is going to show us a $6,000 payment that would be made to your brokerage. That's 3% to the selling realtor brokerage and 3% to the realtor brokerage that brings the third-party buyer. And so this is a single transaction where the lien holders, if you will, the lender has agreed that 6%, a total of 6%, is allowed to be paid and approved to be paid to the realtors. And there's two, if you will, categories of realtors on that HUD statement. And one is the selling realtor, and one, if you will, is the buying realtor, the one representing that third-party buyer. Now, we've already arranged at this stage for all the signatures necessary on any affidavit that the lender may have submitted. Sometimes if something comes up in the last 48 hours and you weren't available, then you might be there to sign it. But typically that's already been done. So it's kind of your option if you want to come to the closing or not, or if you want to come to the closing because either you might know the seller, owner of record, might have a relationship, whatever. That's fine. You can come. But it doesn't matter if you don't want to come. The check's going to be sent to your brokerage, and that completes the 7 steps and you collect the check. Now that you understand how little of your time is actually involved in the short sale process when working with us, we want to get you to focus on getting clients that you can send to us, and we take care of the rest. So let's think about what all this means for you. This training is not about how to find homeowners who need short sale solutions. Hopefully you already know how to get that step done. But if you're somewhat new to short sales, just know that short sale opportunities are everywhere in every demographic. And I like to think of short sale prospects like minnows in a stream. If you aren't looking for them, you might think there aren't any where you live. But just look a little closer with the knowledge that you know what to do with them when you catch them, and you'll discover there's hundreds and hundreds of short sale prospects, typically within 10 to 20 mile radius of where you live. I've heard many, many times that a realtor may have, may say, oh, I have one client, or, maybe I'm going to get another client someday or something. That's that kind of, they didn't know to look yet. They didn't have an efficient solution, such as the solution that you now have with us. A very easy to follow, fast process to get short sales done. So with that kind of solution, it makes far more sense for you to actually look for them, if you will. Look for the minnows, to stay with this metaphor. Look for the short sale minnows rather than saying, oh, if I bump into one, maybe I'll work on a short sale. Now that you're armed with all this knowledge, this is a totally different game for you. You're saying, okay, now I'm actively looking for them. I'm actively marketing, because now you know how to make a great deal of money.